Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're the show that synthesizes the world's most dense reports to find the insights that truly matter.
And today we're looking at a stack of intelligence reports from November 2025 focused on East Africa.
We are. And what we're seeing is, well, it's a critical moment for the region.
It really is. You've got this dangerous convergence of political crises, a really severe humanitarian disaster, and these persistent security threats.
But the thing that really stands out, the part that connects it all globally, is this almost unbelievable financial link.
Right. And that's what makes this deep dive so unique. We're talking about a trail that seems to lead from local American politics straight to global terrorism.
Let's just put it out there. There's a shocking allegation that millions, maybe even billions of dollars from welfare fraud in Minnesota
In the American Midwest, yeah.
are being funneled directly to fund Al-Shabaab in Somalia.
It's just the starkest example you could find. You have criminal exploitation of a social safety net in the U.S., and it's allegedly becoming a direct revenue stream for violent extremism thousands of miles away.
Minneapolis to Mogadishu. It shows just how interconnected these security challenges have become.
And how vulnerable our systems are.
Okay, so let's set the stage.
Yeah.
We have to start in Somalia, where this group is most active. The political situation there it's a mess.
It's a huge mess. Somalia is at a really dangerous political crossroads right now.
And the core tension is what?
It's President Hassan Sheikh Mohammed. The reports suggest he's looking for ways to get a 2-year extension on his presidential term.
Which is supposed to end in May 2026.
Exactly. Now, he's publicly denied it, of course.
But his actions are telling a different story.
That's what the sources suggest. He's been making these very strategic appointments, putting key loyalists in sensitive security and administrative roles.
That's a classic power consolidation move.
It is. And the really critical part is that Somalia has seen this play before. A similar situation back in 2021 led to, violent instability. It nearly fractured the whole federal system.
So the opposition must be reacting.
Oh, absolutely. They're not waiting. Factions from key states like Puntland and Jubaland, they've already formed a coalition.
And they're threatening what?
To set up a parallel government if he goes through with the extension. It's a direct challenge that could just shatter the country's governance.
The contradiction here is it's astounding.
Yeah.
On one hand, you have the political elite risking civil war over a term extension.
And on the other hand,
On the other, the country is taking these historic first steps toward real democracy.
that's the juxtaposition right there. I mean, Somalia has started this pilot program in Mogadishu distributing biometric voter cards.
For over 900,000 pre-registered voters.
It's the first real attempt at a one-person, one-vote system since 1969. You've got grassroots democratic progress literally fighting against this top-down power grab.
And you just know these political tensions have to be spilling over into security. Let's talk about the fight against Al-Shabaab, because these reports suggest a major setback.
Yes, the front line is precarious, and this is likely where that political instability has cost them dearly.
So, just to remind you, the Somali National Army, the SNA, had a huge offensive in 2022-2023. They took back something like 200 towns.
They did, but the reports confirm that in early 2025, Al-Shabaab launched a massive counteroffensive.
And the result?
They've reclaimed approximately 90% of that territory.
90%. That's not a setback. That's a strategic collapse. What was it? Logistics? Tactics?
It looks like a deadly mix of political distraction and just running out of resources. The reports point to the front line near strategic towns like Odhigel being unable to hold.
So they're just overstretched.
Overstretched and undersupplied. Al-Shabaab has even retaken key bridges near Mogadishu. Their resurgence is real, and it's getting dangerously close to the capital.
Okay, so with that kind of reversal, international partners must be stepping up their game.
The military response is robust, let's say. You've got the U.S. Africa Command, AFRICOM, running an intensified airstrike campaign, a record number of strikes this year.
Targeting Al-Shabaab and also ISIS affiliates.
Yes, and they're also on the ground. U.S. Special Forces are conducting operations, especially against ISIS pockets up in Puntland.
We should mention, though, the reports do note claims of civilian casualties from these strikes near Jamame.
That is the tragic reality of these heavy air campaigns. But on the ground, local forces are seeing some success. The SNA, Jubaland forces, they're getting close to liberating Jamam.
Which would be a huge victory. Militants have held it for 16 years.
A massive symbolic victory. And you've also got Turkey playing a much bigger role now, training Somali police, deploying advanced drones.
So we have this picture of intense military action U.S. strikes, Turkish drones, ground forces.
Yeah.
But war costs money.
And this is where we hit the most critical tension point in the entire situation.
The resource gap.
The severe resource constraint. It's the defining contradiction here. While you have all this high-tech offensive action from global powers,
The actual stabilization mission is going broke.
it's starving for cash. The African Union mission in Somalia, AUSOM, is grappling with nearly $200 million in budget shortfalls and operational debts.
$200 million for the main peacekeeping force. That has to cripple their capacity.
It does. It completely undermines them. The funding gap is so bad that Somalia is forced to go out and seek these bilateral deals with Turkey, with the UAE, basically trying to find anyone to fill the void.
The irony is just staggering. Legitimate counterterrorism funding is drying up.
While the illicit funding for the terrorists seems to be flowing just fine.
Which brings us right to that Minnesota to Mogadishu link. Walk us through this fraud allegation. How does it supposedly work?
Okay, so this is a really complex web. It involves civil fraud, organized crime, and alleged terror financing. The focus is on huge welfare schemes in Minnesota.
The big one was the Feeding Our Future case, right?
Yeah.
The $250 million pandemic fraud.
That's the most famous one, but it also allegedly involves large-scale misuse of state programs like Medicaid. Federal investigators say millions, possibly billions, have been stolen.
And how does that money get from a bank in Minneapolis to an Al-Shabaab fighter in Somalia?
The key is the Hawala network.
Explain that for us.
It's an ancient, informal money transfer system. It's based on trust, and it operates completely outside of normal banking channels.
So it's untraceable.
Largely, yes. It lets you move huge sums of cash across the globe very quickly. The allegation is that these stolen welfare funds are pushed through Hawala brokers to Somalia. Once there, a slice of it is diverted by organized cells to fund Al-Shabaab for weapons, logistics, everything.
So the Hawala network is the weak point, the way around all the international tracking and sanctions.
It's the Achilles heel in this whole scenario.
Now, this is really important. What's the legal status here? Have prosecutors actually filed terrorism financing charges?
They have not, and that is the crucial detail here. It separates the allegation from, legal fact. The prosecutors have gone after the fraud cases very aggressively. The theft is not in dispute.
But not the terrorism link.
To date, no terrorism financing charges have been filed. And it's worth noting, a nonpartisan state audit back in 2018 looked into similar claims and found them unsubstantiated at the time.
So if the terror link isn't legally proven, why did this specific allegation suddenly explode in 2025 and lead to such a massive policy change?
Because the allegation itself became an incredibly powerful political tool.
How so?
President Trump announced the immediate termination of temporary protected status TPS for Somali migrants in Minnesota.
And he specifically cited the fraud.
He explicitly cited the fraud and the terror funding allegations as the reason. So the administration used the specter of terror funding, proof or not, to push through an immigration policy they wanted.
And the reaction in Minnesota from political leaders.
It was intense. DFL leaders, people like Representative Ilhan Omar, Governor Tim Walz, they condemned it immediately.
Calling it what?
Xenophobic. They said it unfairly targeted the entire 80,000-strong Somali community and would actually make community integration harder, not easier.
What's so fascinating is how the mere allegation of these money flows completely changed U.S. domestic policy and inflamed tensions, all without a single terrorism charge being filed.
And that's the key insight. This whole case highlights two massive vulnerabilities. First, just the shocking scale of how our social safety nets can be exploited.
Then second,
The immense, maybe impossible challenge of tracking these unregulated financial flows that are fueling extremist groups all over the world.
okay, let's zoom out a bit from Somalia and look at the neighbors. The region isn't exactly calm.
No, but despite the chaos, there are still diplomatic efforts. Kenya just ratified a really important amendment to the East African Community, or EAC, treaty.
Which does what exactly?
It's meant to improve regional trade and how they handle disputes. It signals a real commitment to integration. And Somalia, by the way, is trying to join the EAC too.
But there's always friction, right?
Yeah.
Especially about getting access to the coast.
Always. Ugandan President Museveni recently stirred the pot by publicly warning about potential future conflicts over that very issue landlocked country's rights to access the Indian Ocean.
A sensitive topic for Kenya.
Very. And Kenya itself is facing a dual security threat.
From outside and inside.
Exactly. On the external front, the Al-Shabaab threat is still very real. tragically confirmed by a deadly IED attack on a Border Patrol vehicle in Garissa County.
And internally.
The reports flag something new and worrying. Growing sectarian religious divisions, Christian versus Muslim, are starting to emerge ahead of the 2027 elections.
So it's a threat that goes beyond the usual ethnic politics.
Yes, it's a different, potentially more dangerous line of division for national cohesion.
And as if all that wasn't enough, we have to talk about the immediate, desperate humanitarian crisis.
This might be the most urgent danger of all. The UN, specifically the FAO and World Food Program, they've issued these dire warnings about potential famine.
In 16 countries, with Somalia being a huge concern.
It is, and the drivers are what you'd expect. Conflict, violence, but also, critically, massive funding shortages for aid.
And climate change is just pouring fuel on the fire.
It really is. The Horn of Africa is dealing with this intensifying drought. It's because of a mix of La Niña and another phenomenon called the negative Indian Ocean dipole.
And it's hitting Kenya, Ethiopia, and Somalia the hardest.
Dramatically worsening conditions, driving more people from their homes and making them more reliant on aid that just isn't there.
It's an overwhelming picture. Military support, humanitarian aid, political stability, all of it is just hanging by a thread.
It is.
So to put all of this immediate crisis into context, let's take one final huge step back. Let's talk geological time.
It's a good way to get some perspective, for sure, because scientific studies have confirmed that Eastern Africa is, quite literally, tearing itself apart.
Along the East African Rift system, how fast is this happening?
It's slow, but it's certain. It's moving at about 5 to 16 millimeters a year.
And the end result?
Eventually, in about 5 to 10 million years, it's expected to form a new ocean and split the continent into two. So you have a little time to prepare for that one.
What an incredible contrast. We're talking about a 2-year presidential term extension that could cause a war tomorrow.
Set against the backdrop of a continent literally splitting apart over millions of years.
That tension really sums up the challenges there. We've synthesized these urgent, immediate battles over elections, food, and security.
All while these massive, often invisible global financial flows are shaping the entire conflict.
The security environment is just defined by this paradox.
Yeah.
You have decisive military action from the U.S. and Turkey.
But it's all constrained by political distraction, by missions running out of money, and by the unpredictable flow of this transnational illicit cash.
This deep dive really shows you the true, complex cost of fighting terrorism in the 21st century.
It's not just a military fight. It's political, it's financial, it's logistical, all at once.
So when you consider the massive scale of the welfare fraud exposed in the U.S., and then you look at the critical $200 million funding gap for the peace mission in Africa, it leaves you with a pretty stark question.
It does.
Does the international community have more effective control over disrupting the physical movement of militants on the ground, or the largely untraceable movement of the illicit money that funds them? We'll leave you to think about which vulnerability poses the greater threat.